getting a little bit scared, though, because you are, again, looking at 5ManMidas' lineup saying, where are the Pistons? Where is the lockdown? Yuma is on Morphling. He's on an escape carry. If you don't get him in the first go, he's out of there, and then you're going to be really overextended. So I hope that what they get here for RRL is going to be that jump, going to be that initiator that they can play around. And then even Argus ends up on a playmaker, because you need someone to get those team fights started. Because as we keep saying with Death Prophet especially, when your play to start a team fight is to run at your opponents, a lot of the times your opponents just walk away and they just escape, and then you can't really do anything about it. And they go for TB versus Morphling. Little bit of a risky pick here, because of course, same thing as the Void matchup. You have something to play for a little bit here, just because you have so much more agi, so much more attack speed, that your hero is just better when those stats are stolen. But Morphling still becomes you. Morphling still sends out Conjure Emerald illusions, and Morphling also still reflects you, which can be just backbreaking for a Terrorblade.
And of course, it does not put Argius on that hero in the carry position with any form of lockdown. He's got a slow, and that's really kind of it. So it still leaves 5ManMidas very much lacking on that front. And listen, ET, we've seen plenty of games where the clockwork goes off. I can think of maybe some Jubei games in particular, but he can't be the only one. He can't be the person who must hit hookshot combos every single time, or else you just straight up lose a fight, because then you're gonna lose a lot of fights. It's not a hero that you can depend solely on. So interested to see what 5ManMidas try to do with this last pick to try and shore things up. And at this point, do you think that they draft themselves a mid laner here and push the DP into the off lane, or do they switch that up?
SG and banning out the Timber, well, they think it's going to be DP mid, and well, we already have seen RL take it up just to have that, again, kind of unlosable matchup. But they even split the bans here. It's where SG do need an off mid laner, 100%. There's no room for really moving anybody around. Right. And something to be said about the Terrorblade. Terrorblade Dazzle versus Beastmaster Darkwill, that does sound like a good lane for Argius. He should have very good, very safe early levels. It's where Oscar can really get bullied, and Darkwill as well is just a very weak hero that needs a lot of levels before you can really see that big ramp up. And then we got to be a little bit careful, and of course, as always, Beastmaster will kick Argius out of the lane, but I don't know. It's kind of a tall order here. And what is it going to be? Ember?
Huh?
Ember in the down position, though. So if 5ManMidas want to be down and dirty here, that's where Ember, if they want to, I mean, you look at a hero like Huskar, do they just want to immediately go for the counter pick? I don't know if RRL plays it, though. I don't have that same level of confidence in the Huskar call as I did whenever we were watching a No Runes game, because that is one of Guts' hero. The other option, of course, is that they just change up the draft and just look for Lina, which is, I think, more so an Ember Spirit favored lane now. Lina is still just 100% going to go for the draw, but it's where I think Ember Spirit players are mechanically skilled enough where LSA is just too easy to dodge at this point, and this light spam build is actually pretty annoying. Another hero they could go for would be, I don't know, we've seen so many Pangos, and of course, Pango into Beastmaster isn't the most ideal, but Pango versus Chen, Darkwill, Ember, those all sound like pretty fine matchups.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you know, they could go for Storm, but I don't know. I don't believe in that hero right now. I think it's just a little bit too strapped for mana. I think it's where we haven't seen that adaptation from a lot of mid players, where the hero's still pickable, but you're just playing with pretty much half your mana pool, and your spells cost so much that if you don't get Fairy Trinket, the hero feels almost impossible to play. And they're spending a lot of time here, and they can't afford to spend the time here. But I don't know. You got to make the call. How hard do you want to lean into the counter pickup versus the Ember Spirit? How much can you turn this into a mistake for SG Esports? Or, hopefully, do you let it slide? If so, then the Ember Spirit is going to have a very impactful lane and a very impactful game, considering that your Dazzle is just going to get hounded by him. I wonder if that's where SG, and banning out that puck just so many phases ago, it's where I think you would have wanted to go for that for RRL, but just not an option. And they're really bleeding out their time. And it simply is going to be the Lina. Makes sense, but again, I think it's just that draw that they probably were looking for SG, and not that counter pick that I think is really going to hurt KXY all too much. But you had to go for it. And we've also already seen what Lina can do versus Morphling in that head-to-head carry matchup, especially if you can get a Scotty before Yuma, or even in the same time frame. You can put out a whole bunch of damage. Only problem, though, not that team fighter, not that initiator. Neither Argius or RRL became the heroes that I really wanted them to become for their lineup. So Moonlight better ball out of control. This Clockwork better have the game of his life. Otherwise, again, you just walk away with your SG.
Yeah, I mean, if nothing else, RRL is on a hero that does have some lockdown now, right? With the Lina. You're not entirely uh sort of devoid of anything to work with on that front. It's just not 100% guaranteed that you actually hit the LSA. But at least it's something. At this stage, though, it does feel risky for 5ManMidas, and as you say, ET, Moonlight's got to be the guy, because very few other people even have the option, but just feels like SG has something that's going to be more reliable. I mean, sure, it's a Yuma Morphling. He is going to do the vast majority of their damage, but they don't need him to be the first one in. He's not the only one who could start a fight or keep someone like the Terrorblade locked down. They've spread that out across the lineup, and it just feels like they're going to be stronger because of it.
Yeah, and there are some things to look forward to here. I'm excited to see Oscar Beastmaster, just because last night, Benjas was not scratching my itch.
Yeah.
In both his Visage and his Beastmaster game just didn't feel like that creep hero was the monster we know him to be. And I'm still sad because I'm going to keep talking about Lycan, but no Lycan today. No Lycan in this draft. It's
Oh,
okay. It
just keep
makes
pounding the
sense.
drum for Lycan.
But yeah, I think that hero is great. But that's where this Beastmaster, they do have to run that 4-man lineup where Yuma does not like to participate too early. He also knows that he'll probably lose if he tries to get too active too early, especially with how much kill threat they genuinely do have. But very simply for 5ManMidas, this is another draft, another game where if they do not win the lanes, if they do not come out at least a little bit ahead or in those draws, you have a honest to God tricore. You need farm. You need 3 lanes to get your net worth into. It's where SG also have a very similar lineup. Maybe the Ember Spirit can make a little bit more happen without a net worth, but I think that's where 5ManMidas got to be really careful here. As always in a tricore, somebody's going to get sacked. Somebody's going to get their item timings delayed, and I feel like it almost has to be the Death Prophet, but that's where it's just a matter of the lanes and how much they think they can really get out of them.
Mm-hmm. In the meantime, this is a bit of an interesting situation. You see the two supports having moved across the river. I don't believe they see... No, they don't. Looking at their vision, they don't see that Oscar's there. Well, now they do. So, for a moment, I was thinking maybe SG could try and go for a pincer move, but with the vision, they know what's up. Don't think they're going to get caught out anymore, but at the same time, this wraparound isn't really going to get them an opportunity for a fight either.
And instead, just
I
walk away.
try for... Actually, never mind. I was going to say try for a ward, but they already just dropped one down mid off of RRL, so... Moonlight takes a long walk, doesn't really have anything to do, so he'll just set up in the lane, and... speaking of setting up in the lane, ET, I did catch one thing real quick for Oscar. He is anticipating a little bit of spam here. You look at the itemization, he went for, not a stick, a full wand at the very start of his lane, so... I mean, this is how the Beastmaster works, right? You're just trying to rush that Helm of Iron Will anyway, but that's the only region he's really got to work with right now.
Yeah, and of course, he has Tangos already flying out on the courier, but I haven't seen this build in
Yeah, he
quite a
does.
while, and honestly, looking over at his lane opponents, it might not be as obvious why it's there. Of course, you already have Reflection skilled up, so maybe it's just assuming that the Reflection spam is going to come out there, but it's where you don't obviously look at the lane and say, oh, they're going to have to cast innumerable spells to get the play going on me, but honestly, never a bad choice, though, and if you can get away with the greed of not having a Quelling Blade, especially if you don't see yourself getting too many denies out from underneath you, then, yeah, it works.
I will be interested to see as well if Oscar just goes for that sort of axe-heavy build, you know, ignores his boar again, as we've been seeing from some of the other Beastmasters, because the axes do hurt. Speaking of hurting, though, LTH, this is some serious trouble. He's going to throw down the brambles, but he's just so damn slow. Between the Reflection and the Poison Touch, both level 1, he just straight up can't go anywhere.
Yeah, and then, of course, having the brambles just need to be a little bit more preemptive there. Got too close to the tree line as well, so hard punish.
First blood over to 5ManMidas. Solid start to that lane at least, as the axe spam will continue, but... well, it was the TB who got that kill as well, so really everything goes according to plan there. Meanwhile, looking across to the other side, we'll see how effectively this duo is going to be able to slow down Yuma, really, because he doesn't have the longest attack range in the world, and you're going up against a Death Prophet, so quick Siphon, quick Crypt Swarm, and all of a sudden Yuma's got to re-manage those stats.
Yeah, and I can only imagine Yuma's got probably a raindrop coming out pretty soon here. I think once he has that, then the lane gets a whole lot easier for him to play around. But otherwise, it's been a little bit annoying. Moonlight just now lost control of the small camp, though, so if Prana needs, he can get this Vul Assassin, get some of that slow going. But this is also not the end-all, be-all. It's where keeping that medium camp locked has been so valuable for so many teams, making sure that the Satyr creep doesn't get picked up, because that is the creep that you're pretty much always gunning for.
Oh, for now, it will remain calm. Yuma is actually pushing kind of far forward, and there is that Siphon play, so it's got to be careful. It's only level... Actually, it's not level 1. It's level 2 now, so might be a little bit more damage than he's anticipating, but Yuma doesn't really care too much. He's just here to focus on the farm. In the meantime, Prada does have the Vul Assassin up and running for whatever that's really worth. I mean, I guess it's extra damage, but it's not the most impressive creep in the world.
Yeah, it's not a ghost, and it's not the Sata Mana Burner, but hey,
Middle
what can you
lane,
do?
RRL.
Yeah.
Oh, he misses the LSA. KXY, though, running out of time on the Flame Guard. He does have Sleight of Fist into the Searing Chains. There's the combo, but it's not enough damage. 10
Yeah,
HP on RRL, I think.
He's gonna survive, but this is also an angle where I don't think that he can safely go for the bounty rune, and he might just end up going home. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
still just not what you want to see, and this lane is going a lot worse than the Lina has any business losing. Just, I think KXY maybe out-mechanicking his lane opponent just a little bit here, and now you're just last hitting against no one. If you're the Ember Spirit, you're gonna get a level advantage, you're gonna deny a whole bunch of creeps, and you get to stay in the lane, so water runes galore.
I picked up the first one already. Might not get to the second in time, though, because RRL, he has returned to the lane, but take a look at the last hit discrepancy. It's about 10 last hits between them, so not a bad start for KXY is up in the top lane. A little bit of a fight here. Yuma's getting hit up slightly, and this is something that potentially 5ManMidas could take advantage of, right? Because Prada's not exactly in a position where he's ready to brawl, right? To take these early engagements. There's not too much that he can do outside of harassment, so if Lies and Moonlight are willing to commit for it, they're going to win the vast majority of those little skirmishes.
Yeah, and even though Moonlight's been losing the sentry battle, he has been doing a good job of just physically body blocking out that small camp. And of course, now he's starting to win the battle again. And having this large camp stacked, and we'll have to see, because I think yeah, very nice interrupt of the creep. He's going to lose his creep, but stopping that pull, having this large camp stacked like this is really bad for Yuma. It's something that neither hero can really contest, especially without boots. It's where it is quite difficult for you to make that play happen. It's why Prada is also going for that exact same pull, because you know that's how both sides get the most out of this lane here. But again, this is a pretty big problem for Yuma. As long as there's that pressure, and they do have a ward to scout out whenever that pull does come through, but it's just very hard to actually see us in this lane now.
Yeah, he's been doing his best so far. 26-8 is certainly still impressive, but Lies has been doing everything possible. Just try and slow him up a bit, but Yuma's got his boots out now, so some extra stats to work with, and I was saying before, Lies and Moonlight can go in, they can sort of take some early skirmishes, and Prada's not in a position to really help Yuma out too much, but they can't really kill the morph unless Yuma makes a pretty sizable mistake. So, picking up potential mistakes, though, LTH might be in some trouble here in the river. Just trying to contest for the rune, unfortunately he was unable to do so, so RRL gets the rune, Feeling gets the kill, and okay. 2 straight to open things up here for the side of 5ManMidas. Not too shabby.
No, not bad in the slightest. And they do, again, kind of have to do this. They have to keep their head up. They have to make sure that these plays are being made. And I think that bottom lane is going to be the one that SG does have to concede the most of. And of course, you can always go for the creep cut pulls with the boar, worst case scenario, but the wave so far forward, it's a little bit tough. And Arceus, he's got a very easy level 5 here. If he does need to start rotating out, he definitely can. He even has 3 points up in the meta, so he is ready to look for farm stacks. Any stacks if Feeling is able to get them kind of going here is just going to be a nice rotation for him.
Yeah. Just a calm and relatively peaceful lane here after that initial fight. Okay, never mind. Arceus pops the meta and pushes a little bit far forward. He's kind of over the whole peaceful crap. He's looking for a little bit of damage and pushes him back, takes out the boar. But now things get a little more interesting. Moonlight, okay, I'm not sure if he was trying to catch the Lina in that. Either way, it's a solo smoke, and he wants to get into position. He's got the cog trap. He's got 2 points in the battery assault. He just needs a target. As speaking of targets, that was a Laguna going down in the... Yep, down in the jungle. That double damage rune comes in handy as RRL and Feeling barely win that fight, but they will win it. And now there's going to be another play onto Oscar. They get him trapped up in the cogs. The meta damage is going to be there. And 5ManMidas in one fell swoop pick up 2 more kills. Close call for RRL. He did almost die to KXY, but they managed to make it happen.
Yeah, and I think a little bit of a misplay there. You see the 2 remnants placed. A lot of pressure being put on just getting and rather losing that DD rune to the Lina, minutes before, and immediately getting aggressive onto Moonlight, but the cogs are too good. They have to walk away. Can't let that happen, but
Did he get...
this is something...
Oh, that's
Oh,
awkward.
he got pushed.
He's
well,
stuck.
That's sad.
Tries this for the TP out. The battery assault can't actually hit him. Okay. Crisis averted. Everything's fine there, but... God. When was the last time you saw someone get pushed into that exact spot? It's such an awkward little cliff there, but at least LTH avoids giving up the death.
Yeah, I feel like there are a lot more of those on the Radiant side of the map than the Dire side. Just weird cliffs in between cliffs, but what do we know? But this is something that 5ManMidas should keep on looking for. Right now, the Chen can't really rotate to go anywhere aside from mid. So if you keep on making plays on this bottom side of the map and keep on moving up onto Oscar, you can only imagine that it's going to continue to be successful. It's also where they are being very patient right now. And patience is kind of working out for them. They don't really need to rotate unless it's for those power runes. They still need to keep any power rune out of that Ember Spirit's bottle, but they're also getting scouted out pretty heavily right now. They know the 3 heroes are top, so Yuma's just going to bail out. And the tower trade begins.
Yeah. It was worth a shot if they could catch him, but not going to be able to do so. But look at KXY making his way over here. But the problem is, he goes in as Yuma had already sort of backed out. So I'm not sure they're going to find a kill. Feeling, though, okay, TP canceled. They will be able to take him down. That will save their tower, so... I was going to say maybe it's a trade that could favor SG. The problem is Oscar pulled the creep wave out, and the creep wave itself does some nice damage, but without the actual Beastmaster to hit it, they're not going to take that tier 1 either.
Yeah, and, well, now you're getting TP'd in on Moonlight's here. The meta TB, yeah, walks over, and Oscar might have to roar to escape, but I think it might be too late. And
Oh,
the roar
no.
goes out, and, well, worst case scenario for Oscar, he loses everything. His HOD was coming out on the courier as well, but instead, doesn't get the tower, doesn't get Arceus, doesn't get any trade, and loses his ulti. That's pretty sad.
Yeah, at that point, you're going down, roar or no roar, you might as well hold it. By the time he's back up, it's only going to be, what, like, around a minute on the cooldown, so that's not the worst thing in the world, but it's definitely not what he wanted. His 5ManMidas pick up another kill. They might... Never mind. I was going to say, might be in trouble up top, but Yuma really only waveforms for creeps, not really looking for the fight, and to be fair, that's not really a fight he can win, because he doesn't have the damage at this stage to go directly into a Death Prophet.
Yeah, and even though they do get that kill bottom, they do halt the push on top. Because there isn't support to back the DP, they're not going to throw her out there where she's just going to die for free. So they take a more, I think, slower, more appreciative post. But this is where I think now we should finally see the tower trade. With the cards up as well, I think it should just die pretty quickly. If they can get that top tower, though, without committing Exorcism, that's a pretty massive win. We'll see if Wise just does it for the time, and yeah, that's what he's going to do it for. Just making sure that this gets killed as fast as you can, because your opponents with the Helm of the Dominator, you just blitz through it, as well as the Chen creeps. And this is where, if you're SG, you'd love to use another smoke and then immediately look for the collapse on mid, where you could very likely catch RRO off guard here, but you also just need to get that pressure on mid.
Yeah, they're not really making any sort of move at the moment. In fact, Oscar, he's going to push his way onto the tier 2, so, you know, that's kind of one of the ways in which the Beastmaster operates, right? You can just sort of lock down a lane for an extended amount of time, but that does mean Not a lot of pressure anywhere else unless they can catch somebody out. They are trying onto RRL, but that Curse Crown, it'll connect, but by the time it does, he's so far away.
Yeah, very smart as well. Just denying the Invis rune. Again, not the most impactful rune, but this is also where it's going to be a battle for the cliff here. And they're not warding it because they don't want to get punished just yet. And Moonlight looking for the hook shot bottom onto Oscar. Should be able to find the angle here, but it's becoming a little bit too much of a commitment and too far away from any help.
And you'd also have to potentially thread the needle through those creeps, depending on how far Oscar started stepping away from them, so yeah, he decides it's not really worth the effort, although if they could spot KXY, that would be better. There it is. They're going to get the hook shot, they're going to get the pushback, they're going to get the LSA, the Laguna Blade, but there's the Hand of God, and he's out. KXY just has a little bit too much backup from his teammates. The healing's good, and if you're 5ManMidas, that's really the limits of your lockdown right there, right? That was the full combo. Hook, push, LSA. After that, your lockdown's gone and wasn't enough.
Yeah, and I don't mean to take any focus away from the game, but a little bit of news here for the viewers and us. 732C just dropped in the middle of the series. So we've got a little bit of a patch coming forward. And of course, letter patch should just be some quality of life changes. But one of the big changes I'm reading already is that Satyr Mindstealer got nerfed. Hey, look at that. The broken creep got nerfed. Let's go. Mana burn is a little bit less good now. Nice.
Well, yeah, we're gonna be looking at that in between games here, but for now, well, still got this game 1 to determine, and that would be something, right? 5ManMidas get their first potential win of the event in their in their last game on the old patch. I don't think they really care. They'll take a win any patch, any time at this point, but, you know, it's a nice little narrative for them as Yuma. I want to be a little careful here. There's actually several heroes kind of setting up around him. Looks like, okay, they're going to go for Prada instead. Yeah, that's a far, far easier kill. Well, I say that. There we go. The mech makes it a little bit more complicated, but they are able to find the kill.
No, and a pretty nice pickoff. Of course, whenever you kill Chen, it's never just Chen that you need to kill. You also need to clean up his creeps, but they do a pretty fine job of mopping up at least a few. But for the Harpy Stormcrafter, it's always there. Poke and prod you, but they're defending this, and they will see the Ember Spirit on the low ground here. And Oscar is not going to be able to make that collapse happen, so they have to settle for Moonlight, but not even. What a hook shot away. Now they go immediately onto the tower, though, and this is something that you need to spam out with both the Crypt Swarm and arguably the Lina as well, but they're not making that rotation really in time here. They like the counterplay as well, just taking out especially LTH, but this is coming a little bit slow, and the Lina's not batting an eye.
Yeah, this is going to get a little bit awkward. They might just be sacrificing the tower. Yeah. Tier 1 gets taken down, but there might still be a fight. The way that both sides are kind of hanging out here. Oh, I think they were pinging the ward more than anything else. They do take it out, but the fact that they're still in the area is a little concerning to me, ET, because if you were going to fight, you needed to fight under your tower. Now that it's gone, there really isn't much reason to be around here anymore.
No, there isn't, and okay, they're scanning out, arguably looking for the Terrorblade in the triangle, but I think this is also where they should just walk around. I'm also looking at bottom. Yuma. No, not enough damage, and now Oscar, he's on his way. Okay, Yuma doesn't morph into RL to immediately go for the stun, but oh no, they're just walking into each other.
They've got the roar. They've got the damage. What a swing there. RRL throws the full combo at Yuma, doesn't get the kill, and then doesn't get away. Gets picked off himself, and that's a kill into the Morphling's hands as well, ET, so Manta's now done. Progress already starting towards, looks like a Dragon Lance that he's picking up next, so that's a little bit of a concerning one. You go from potentially getting a huge kill to giving up a lot of gold.
Well, and even though, and despite Argus being the top net worth in the game, of course only by about 200 compared to Yuma's Morph, there's a 4k gold lead for SG. They have slowly but surely been able to farm up on a lot of their heroes, and especially on the Chen, something that, of course, that hero is going to do. You're going to spend time making sure that you get that mech in a pretty easy fashion, but also the rest of the lineup is just using the map. This is where you're in that awkward phase of 5ManMidas where we need to use our Exo to get this mid tower, but if mid tower push is too scary, Do we force the Roche? Where are we going to actually utilize our heroes here? It's where maybe they just have to wait for their next BKB timing to be finished up on both your DP and your Lina, but in doing so, you're letting a lot of big items get finished. And Arceus, ooh,
That was bold.
got the
Very,
illusion rune.
very bold. He's gonna be just fine, though. Walks away. Goes back to farming, I suppose, and false alarm. Nobody really pulls the trigger on that, but yeah, as you say, ET, pushes and map control for 5ManMidas. It's just kind of a scary prospect right now, but you've gotta do something. I mean, Arceus can farm. He can sit in the jungle and farm all the livelong day. That's fantastic, but the rest of the lineup can't afford to just sort of sit and do nothing. You didn't draft the Clockwork to have him just be passive and scout with a flare. You need to try and make some move happen, but nothing feels safe.
And that's honestly the most telling part of this game, and it is a very low kill game, but the team with 4 less kills being 4,000 net worth ahead, that just shows you that you're not using the map really as nicely as your opponents here. And you want to get aggressive, but okay, in the jungle, in the river, Moonlight, the Lina comes in, she ports it onto that mid creep wave, but there's not really much to do here. Yuma comes in.
Okay, he's just gonna send it, but now he's in the middle of the fight. He's got to be a little bit careful here because Arceus has arrived. There's a buyback from Moonlight as well, but look at the backline. Oscar goes in, drops down the roar, sidesteps the hook shot, but that means there was enough time to get off the grave. RRL is still alive. No, he's not. KXY jumps in, gets the kill. Sunder from Arceus, though, keeps him alive, but his teammates are just getting wiped out. Moonlight and Lies both dead. Buyback now from Feeling as well. I don't know about some of these buybacks, ET. This is getting a little awkward. Moonlight already died twice, and Feeling, I mean, I guess he's here to grave Arceus if he gets in trouble, but Arceus could avoid trouble by just backing off of this engagement entirely.
Yeah, and LTH is in over his head. He should probably just TP out, maybe. But he will try to make that walkaway happen. But yeah, they just take the fight again before those 2 very important BKBs are happen. Now they feed away in Aegis because, well, you just lost a fight so convincingly, but they could not really do anything there. They're just walking past Chen and Beastmaster creeps. They're getting hit up. They're getting killed by the inner beast as well. Everything is just chunking through them, and they do not have enough damage. And that level 1 Exo just feels so bad. And Feeling dies back in the mid lane just because they have nice vision placed after that tower went down. Oh, man. Not pretty stuff. I think now, 5Man, you just have to kind of retreat, make sure these items actually get finished, and then look for smoke timing. But this is the same problem that we brought up already in the draft, where you just don't have a playmaker. It is just your Clockwork, and your Clockwork has just been unable to make anything really happen here. And of course, large in part because of how many creeps are just walking around constantly creating problems for you. And now I don't even want to imagine what's going to happen once Force Staffs are up, because now your initiation is just going to be botched every single time.
Yeah. And even worse on top of it, you know, they weren't the most expensive buybacks in the world because those were the supports, but the buyback's always relative to what your net worth is. So the fact that both Moonlight and Feeling die back there, you take a look at the bottom of this net worth chart on the left, ET, look at the gap between them and the support duo on the other side. We already knew the Chen was farming, but even the Dark Willow now has a lead of over 1,000 net worth. So this lineup is already overly dependent on someone like the Clockwork, and now that Clockwork is basically broke. This Philosopher's Stone's the only reason he's not just dead last.
Yeah, and this is funny. Look at KXY.
Oh my god.
He's got a haste rune. He has no business being here. He has a remnant out as well. He didn't just put himself in this situation without an exit strategy, but he's also just trying to be annoying. And 5ManMidas are kind of slowly but surely walking at him, even though it feels like he does not care in the slightest. And Oscar's Ancient Black Dragon gets the tier 2 top, so the map is starting to dissolve. They're pushing down 2 tier 2s at the same time right now. 5ManMidas are just spread too thin.
11k net worth lead, and ET still relatively low kill count, even after SG sort of explode for that team fight win. That's 14 in just under 22 minutes total, but the farm, the amount of map control, it's just absolute insanity for SG Esports right now. And your 5ManMidas, how are you going to catch up? You have your Terrorblade farm, that's the theory, but where is he going to farm now? You've lost 2 of your 3 tier 2s. You don't have safe spaces on the map anymore. And if Arceus can't farm, there's no way in hell that the DP or the Lina are going to farm either.
Yeah, it's also where, because you are that illusion carry, even though Arceus is still getting a pretty decent amount of farm, if you're getting those kills majority with Conjure Image, you're not getting XP. You aren't
Mm.
that same level as your opposing carry. And that's also where Yuma, I think, is just about to have his Aghanim Scepter. So now, if he ever finds you, it's where you really have to hide yourself on that Terrorblade. We've seen what happens when Yuma can find that early morph onto the carry in those team fights, and then just a wash. You just simply don't have a hero anymore. Especially in the Agi matchup, you just have no attack speed. It looks like a joke whenever you try to right-click anybody. And Argus is going for the Scotty, which will try and make that matchup feel a little bit better. But the Scotty also is only for the morph. It's not like I think the Beastmaster and the Ember really care too much about that item timing. It's where I think the item after, if it's a Daedalus, would feel a lot better.
Hook on to
Top, though,
KXY.
into LSA. Perfect.
Luna's deployed. Hand of God, though, buys him the time, and he'll jump out again. KXY fast on the fingers, but the real MVP there. Gotta be Prada. Perfectly timed heal.
That's unfortunate because that's 4 heroes that just showed top. So now, again, they get to play bottom with all of this confidence. Aegis is expiring, though. Something to look forward to. There will be that moment where you can actually just kill Yuma once, probably before his BKB. But as soon as this Aegis is gone, 5ManMidas, you've got to make a smoke. You've got to stamp your feet in the ground. And you've got to hope that Moonlight finds a hookshot to open up this game. Because otherwise, you're going to miss a pretty big opportunity. If you kill Yuma in the next minute or so, that's going to be great. But also, look at Yuma. Morphs into the TB illusion. And looking over at Argius, it still affects you. Goodbye attack speed. Goodbye agility.
Oh.
Yeah, it's one of those brutal matchups where no matter where, you will get that target. And look at Yuma, meted. Your TB on TB action here. And there's no way they can walk up right now. And Argus does not want to TP back while that morph is still going.
Well, this is very awkward. This is going to be a full lane of racks taken. Jesus. I mean, ET, what? 6-7 minutes ago, SG Esports had 2 kills to their name. Now they've taken a lane of racks. KXY, though, no Hand of God to bail him out this time. So 5ManMidas will connect. 3rd time's the charm on that attempt. And well, the timing's pretty damn good. Kill on KXY just as the Aegis expires, so SG do have to back away, but mid already went down as KXY hit him with the XD. Okay. But still very much a game that feels in SG's favor. Prada, how did you get... Oh. He force-staffed himself there. That's the 2nd time in one game someone's gotten stuck in that little mini cliff.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny. It looks weird, but I think it's still kind of amazing that SG were able to get an Aegis with was 45 seconds on that Aegis. But that's where now, I think, unfortunately, or maybe fortunately for 5ManMidas, they got that KXY kill, which certainly matters, but it means that they don't have that same smoke opportunity that I was kind of referring to. But Yuma's given him a chance here. He's actually veering away from the BKB. He's looking for a Scotty instead, which will certainly make Argus's life almost impossible whenever he pops that meta. It's already very difficult. But
oh my god, KXY.
Oh, he's in.
That's just straight on into the heart of the enemy. He got the root onto 2. The follow-up root is there from LTH. That's going to force out a BKB. But the run on the Terrorblade means he can't sunder, and this fight's done. RRL has to leave.
Oh,
Does he
you're
make it
dead.
out?
Oh.
Why did KXY... That feels like a bit of a mistake. If KXY keeps hitting, then they have the damage to get the kill.
Yeah, okay.
Oops.
Who cares? You next. Yeah, that's one of those odd situations. But Yuma got the bottom wave in. He became the Morphling. They do have a glyph on 5ManMidas, and your Terrorblade will be alive in time here. There's also no BKB on Oscar, so maybe they can switch targets, but this is still a heck of a team fight they need to get together.
There's also no BKB on RRL, though, so how willing will he be to push in without that protection? He's got the full damage combo to work with, but someone's got to set it up for him, and, well, sounds like Moonlight's music. Does he make a play? Not really. Didn't have the angle he thought he did. He was standing under a hawk after he TP'd in there, so probably better.
And then you're out, and then Yuma decided, nah, I'm not going to throw the same way almost did last night. Buys an actual BKB. Yeah. They don't scout this DD rune either, but they do, then Yuma would have a DD to push in.
Argus, I don't think you can afford to be here. Yeah, here comes the jump. Tries the TP. Chains. Can they cancel it? Yes, they can, and it's disaster time. He doesn't have buyback either. He's 600 gold short, so this is going to be another push onto the final lane of racks. Some sort of defense has to happen, but the roar goes through RRL's BKB. The Grave's going to be there to save him. He's trying to TP away. Can they cancel it? No, they can't. So at least RRL doesn't die, but Feeling does get taken down.
Yeah, but there's just no way they
Oh.
defend. Yeah, everything is just going too crazy right now. This is going to be Megas. They've saved their glyph this entire time to try and get Argus as Scotty, but that just being the final pick of the game, yeah, GG
There it
comes
is.
out. They know.
Well,
Man.
maybe boy, I don't know, ET. You're the immortal level player here, but maybe you should ban Yuma's Morphling. Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, and I don't know. And it's a funny game because at the end of the day, it's 7-12. There
Yeah, that's
really
true.
weren't that many kills. There really weren't that many team fights though at the same time. As soon as that first Aegis got claimed, 5ManMidas never really felt confident to take another team fight there. But hey, you know, I think that's where SG, they did not pull their punches here. They got pretty much exactly what they wanted. They got pretty much all of their broken heroes. And of course, Yuma just got Morphling into nothing, into a matchup that he is going to win. The only way he loses is if Argus is out farming him, or RRL is also farmed enough to scare him into not playing just super confidently. But then again, you realize that we have just so few plays to make. Everything is about the clockwork. And when your clockwork's only able to make or initiate 4 kills of the 7 that your team receives, it's too tough. It's almost impossible. And all to try and just draw out that mid lane, because I don't think RL wanted to lose that lane at the very least. But just in doing so, very passive, unable to make really anything happen. And SG just kind of walk all over you. But patch time. It's time to restart the game. It's time to see. I already read a nerf of Chen, so excited to see that. But that's where we're going to dive in real quick before game 2 starts.
Yeah, we're going to take a real quick look at that while we can. Go look at it yourself if you want to see what the hell we're talking about when we come back. As 5ManMidas drop game number 1. Hoping, though, that the new patch gives them maybe something to work with as they continue searching for that first win. So, yeah, we have to patch our games real quick. So we're going to do that as quickly as we can. And we'll be back with the start of that game 2 draft in just a little bit. So stick around and we'll be right back.